Hey everybody, Poppin' Fresh here with my Week 3 Team Builder for the NDUL versus the Zealous Zebstrikers. I'm getting to face the two ZZ teams in a row, back to back, so hopefully this goes as well as my last matchup with the ZZ team went. But let's just get into it. Oops, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. So let's take a look at what they got. So leading off, they have Celesteela, Mamoswine, Galvantula, Vaporeon, Galarian Weezing, Tauros, Gourgeist, Turtonator, Mega Beedrill, who I love, Mewtwo, and Urshifu Single Strike, the Dark-type one. So by looking at their team and what they have, I identified 4 mons that they're probably going to bring, and then 4 more that I think they're less likely to bring. So starting off, I think Celesteela, Mamoswine, Mewtwo, and Urshifu are all must-brings for them. Celesteela, it just has incredible defensive utility while being able to do damage by itself, be that through Leech Seed, Heavy Slam, Flamethrower, Earthquake. It has a lot of options to put the hurt on mons that can't really do much damage to it. And when you're getting your health sucked away by Leech Seed each turn, it makes it progressively harder to deal with Celesteela as it can chunk you and gain health back at the same time with leftovers. And if you sprinkle in a Protect here or there, that thing's never going down. So I think it's a great pick. I don't think there's ever a week where Celesteela doesn't come for this team. The only reason it might not come against mine is because I do have Magnezone, which is a pretty decent Celesteela answer. But honestly, Celesteela can be EV'd to be faster than Magnezone, and unless I have specs, I'm not OHKOing it. So I still think Celesteela comes this week regardless. I think Mamoswine has to come, and I think this also has to come every week for this team. And that may be just the bonehead singles mentality of me, saying, oh, you have to have Stealth Rock on every team. But I really think that you need to have Stealth Rock on pretty much every team. And as we'll get into a little bit later, Mamoswine is actually this team's only form of rock support, and his only immediate damage dealing hazard support as well. So I think due to that reason, and that reason alone, Mamoswine has to come this week. I think Mewtwo will show up because it's Mewtwo. It's super strong, and in this league, Mewtwo can't have Nasty Plot, which I guess Nasty Plot Mewtwo can kind of tear it up, which makes sense, but I haven't actually ever played a format with Nasty Plot Mewtwo, so I guess I don't know the horrors that I'm being spared by this not having Nasty Plot, but I think Mewtwo's too good not to bring. And lastly, I think Urshifu comes as well. If they were to get Clefable out of the way, assuming I bring it, which, spoilers, I am. Once they get Clefable out of the way, there's really nothing they can do to stop Urshifu from just wicked blowing its way through the rest of my team. My only other Dark Resist is T-Tar, and guess what type T-Tar is 4 times weak to? Yeah, it's not going to have a good matchup against Urshifu. And then, among the 4 mons that I think they might bring, first off is Galvantula. Galvantula provides Sticky Web support and various options of speed control with Thunder Wave as well. It also can be pretty annoying with its, I think, 97% accurate Thunders, which are pretty nice. Definitely good against Ho-Oh and Slowking. Can chunk some damage there. It also just has the ability to be a nice little pivot. If they need to get out of there and have something probably take 1 hit, 2 max, and then get out of there with Volt Switch, Galvantula is a great option to do that. Vaporeon, which the more I look at it, the more I realize it should be a probably face, but I still have it marked here as a potential, and I'm not going to go back and re-edit this, so imagine it being green, but it's yellow for now. I think Vaporeon is a great cleric. It has a 130 HP stat, 95 SPDF, and a passable 65 defense, which is bolstered by the fact that it learns Scald. And if you're sitting in against Vaporeon, odds are it'll eventually hit you with Scald and burn you. So it's a great bulky mon. It has some good cleric options. It has Wish, Teleport. Any mon with a Wish port is something to consider that you're going to have to probably face off against. So definitely a great option there. And it really doesn't have anything on my team that can do too much damage to it. I don't have an offensive grass type. Amoonguss is going to sit there and do nothing against it and slowly die. My only real option against this is Magnezone. And even then, Magnezone can't OHKO it. I'm not even sure if Specs Magnezone can OHKO this thing. It's so bulky. So that's definitely something I have to keep in mind and probably be aware of. And I bet it'll probably come. Galarian Weezing is also an option for him. Or for them. I'm not sure of the gender. I shouldn't assume. Galarian Weezing is one of the only other forms of hazard control on this team. So that's something I noted off pretty much immediately when I looked at this team. They're they don't have very good options in terms of hazard control, be it setting them up or removing them. Wheezing is their only defogger, and is also a good source of T-spikes, which is nice. You know what? I'm going to change my music real quick. I don't know if this is a good loop. I don't think it sounds like a very good loop. And also, I like this music, but I'm going to find a better loop and use it in a different video. Yeah, intense stuff isn't really my style. I can't fucking see over my mic. I'm gonna turn it down, I don't know. Okay, I think that sounds good. This is more my vibe. Yeah, that first song, it's the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 multiplayer lobby, which I spent a lot of time in that lobby when I was in high school, man, but I like lighthearted stuff, you know? That's more my vibe. So where I left off, Galarian Wheezing, T-Spike's defog, and it's the best T-Tar check they have. Resists the dark stuff. They could run Levitate, which could make it even more difficult, in that I couldn't hit them with a ground move. Excadrill would have a harder time dealing with them, assuming I bring Excadrill, which I also am. But it's also just a good physical wall. With Will-O-Wisp, it never goes down to a physical hit, so that's enough about Wheezing. Moving on to last pick, possibly bring Beedrill. Beedrill's really fast, has a lot of power behind it, but honestly, I don't really see it coming. It's really frail. It doesn't have the power to knock out Tyranitar in one hit, even if maximally invested. T-Tar's just too bulky physically, and it dies in one hit to pretty much anything. So, might come, but I don't think it'll come. So just overall notes before we move on. They're very lacking in hazard control, but they make up for that with their Celesteela and Vaporeon core, which is really hard to break. The first game that they played went out to turn 68, which pretty stereotypical singles kind of stall game. And it came down to Vaporeon toxic stalling and Scald burning its way to victory. So, definitely something to look out for. And another this probably could have been in the end section, but based on this team, Mamoswine is probably either going to be Sash or Scarf, just to make sure they can get their rocks up, since it's their only way to do it. But, yeah, something to keep in mind. That should have been later in the presentation. So, moving on. I did a little bit of some well, not yet. So this is just the layout of who can do what. So you can see they only have Stealth Rocks from Mamo, T-Spikes from Wheezing, really. I mean, Beedrill's never going to run T-Spikes. Sticky Web from Galvantula, which is something to consider. And their only other method of hazard control is Defog. I guess Beedrill gets Defog, but I've never ever seen Beedrill run Defog, and that's probably for a reason. And they do have Turtonator with Rapid Spin, but given my powerful Sand mode, I don't think Turtonator comes to this matchup. I think that's a bad idea. Pivoting, I have to watch out for Galvantula, Urshifu, Beedrill. If Beedrill does come, it will run U-turn, so that's something to know. And this must be out of date, because I'm pretty sure Vaporeon gets Teleport. If it doesn't get Teleport, it gets Flip Turn, which is pretty much the same thing. Probably even better for it, since it's so slow. And Vaporeon does have Cleric options with Heal Bell, and Wheezing also has Cleric options. And one other thing to mention here is that for like stopping sweeps and stuff, Wheezing is pretty good at that. It has the neutralizing gas, so it can slow down Excadrill, and it also gets Clear Smog and Haze. So Haze would probably be brought, assuming since I have Excadrill, which can definitely slow things down and put a damper on any kind of momentum I get. Yeah, and a couple Will-O-Whispers, and Vaporeon gets Yawn, which is annoying. We know that from VGC, but yeah, fun stuff. Moving on. So I did some opposition research. You know, I guess Vaporeon doesn't have Teleport here, huh? So I was able to look and see what my opponent brought last week, or the first week. They haven't played their week 2 game yet. And it kind of just summarizes what I had expected them to bring. A support Vaporeon, a Scarf Mamoswine with rocks, an annoying, bulky-ass Celesteela, an annoying Wheezing, and a Leftovers Galvantula, which is kind of interesting. We'll see if that shows up this week. I doubt it will. I probably need some more... Well, I guess we'll see. And then a defensive Urshifu, which is the only Urshifu to run. So, this is this week's squad. I'll move my... shit. Okay, well, I can't do that because I'm in presentation mode. But the last number there behind that 5 is a 9, if you, for some reason, want to pull up the Pokepaste. But for this week, I'm thinking about bringing Magnezone, T-Tar, Excadrill, Clefable, Slowking, and Ho-Oh. So pretty similar to squad to the one I brought last week. Only difference is I swapped out Fortress for Clef. Fortress did have a reason to come this week, but I don't think that I need that many hazards. I think Stealth Rock is enough against this team, considering their rock-type weaknesses. So, getting into each of the members, we'll start off with Ho-Oh. Again, I'm running a Choice Scarf Ho-Oh, which I ran last week but never actually got to use. And I did that because Ho-Oh actually matches up really well into this team. They have a net fire weakness and they have a net flying weakness. And hey, Ho-Oh's your man for that. So I have just enough speed to outspeed a max speed it would be Jolly, Mega Beedrill, which probably won't come, but it's there in case I need to outspeed it. And I've decided to start breaking up my calcs here into an offensive block and a defensive block. So that's just reference. For moves, I have Sacred Fire, Brave Bird, Toxic, and Defog, and the rest of my EVs are dumped into attack and HP. And I do have an odd number of HP to make sure, since I don't have boots, I will be taking Stealth Rock damage. If you have an even number of HP, Ho-Oh dies after 2 switch-ins. With an odd number, it dies after 3 switch-ins. And that's before you factor in Regenerator, but, well, I don't care. Sacred Fire and Brave Bird for damage, Toxic to be annoying, and Defog in case I really need to get the rocks up. Or get the rocks off, or like, I think Defog gets rid of Leech Seed. I can't remember, that might just be Rapid Spin that does that, but yeah, just good stuff. And in terms of my offensive calculations, this is the reason why I brought Ho-Oh this week. Brave Bird it has a pretty good chance to OHKO a max HP 4 defense Urshifu, which is kind of crazy. Urshifu has good physical defensive stats, and that's just great news. Brave Bird just absolutely obliterates Beedrill. I can use Brave Bird or Sacred Fire. Either one will just dump on that little bee. 300%. So, good stuff there. And my Sacred Fire calculation against Celesteela is pretty nice as well. Assuming it runs max physically defensive, but without a physically defensive nature, it guarantees the 2-hit KO. Even if it does have a physically boosting nature, it still has the 2-hit KO with Sacred Fire. And those odds get even better if I have... thought I heard my work phone ringing. Assuming I got a burn, that'll cancel out the leftovers and then stop it from doing anything back to me. The only thing Celesteela can really do against Ho-Oh is Meteor Beam, but I can scout that, see if he has leftovers, then I can tell he won't have Meteor Beam because you don't bring Meteor Beam without Power Herb. So, good to know there. And then another important calc is that I can outspeed Mewtwo with this, and even if he has max HP 4 defense Mewtwo, I do guarantee the 2-hit KO on that. And then, considering that Brave Bird does have considerable recoil from dunking on Mewtwo and all these other mons, I am able to survive a max special attack modest Mewtwo Psystrike with a Life Orb. And now Psystrike's a little nasty because Ho-Oh has really high special defense, 154, but its physical defense is a lot lower. I think it's at 90. And even considering that, I'm still able to live the hit, and it only has a 62% chance to kill me in one hit, assuming I get the maximum recoil damage after I hit it with Brave Bird. And if that does happen, then I can come in with something else and take care of Mewtwo from there. Up next is Clefable. Good old Clef. This is a pretty standard set as well. Max physical defensive with 4 and Spadef, Moonblast, Soft-Boiled, Knockoff, and Stealth Rock. So this is just kind of a good stuff mon. Get up rocks, annoy things by knocking off their items, and chip away things with Moonblast, with the exception of Urshifu, who gets absolutely dumpstered by Moonblast, thanks to the 4x weakness. And the calculation I have in here is, I don't know, I keep saying calculation. The calc I have here is against a max HP 0 Spadef Rosalie Berry Urshifu, which will not be the case, but just to show how much damage this does do. If I do that, it does 73 minimum, guaranteed 2-hit KO, and then this is probably going to be my lead, so I have a calc here for Mamoswine. I always live the Mamoswine Earthquake, and it's always a 3-hit KO after leftovers recovery. If it's Banded Mamo, which I really don't think will be the case, then it turns into a 2-hit KO, but I'll still be able to get my rocks up, and then I know it's banded, so I can switch to Ho-Oh and start to make them have a bad day from there. And again, I can survive Urshifu's either Iron Head or Poison Jab, and assuming it has the Rosalie Berry, which is the only way it can hit me twice before dying, it's still a 3-hit KO. But if it's anything else, it'll die in one hit. And if it's banned, I don't die in one hit. I live with like 25% HP left. So Good stuff. Clefable is my one and only Urshifu answer, really. It's the only counter. Ho-Oh's a good check, assuming it doesn't have to come in on a Wicked Blow. It can live anything else, but yeah. Very scary mon, so Clef's here to help us out. Up next, we have Magnezone. I am running Magnet Pull this week because I want to fuck Celesteela. Clip that out of context. So I have Scarf here to make sure I can outspeed it no matter what. That is to help me survive an Earthquake if it does bring it. So essentially, if I come in against Celesteela, I want to Volt Switch on the first time because I can't OHKO it, and then I want to get out of there and scout for the Earthquake. But I have Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Volt Switch, and Steel Beam. Thunderbolt and Volt Switch to do electric damage against Celesteela. Flash Cannon to help kind of hurt Weezing and Mamo. And Steel Beam is there just to have kind of a last hurrah. I have it EV to outspeed a max speed Modest Mewtwo. So if I come in there and I need some kind of last resort, like it's Mewtwo's about to tear through my team, I can just go for a Steel Beam, and assuming it has max HP, it does 60 to 70, which is pretty good. And then anything else I have there that has faster, be it Ho-Oh or Excadrill, can come in and clean up from there. So, very offensive Magnezone. My only defensive calc that I ran is that, well, not ran, the only one that's important is that I can survive a max attack, or a max special attack Flamethrower from Celesteela. I can't live the Earthquake, so that's why I'll be Volt Switching, but that'll also help me tell if it has Earthquake versus Flamethrower. If I need to stay in on a Flamethrower, I can tank the hit. Up next, we have Mega T-Tar, our MVP from last week, with a pretty similar set, except this time it is only minimally invested in HP in attack. Ugh. And my brain just goes on without actually reading what's in front of me and without actually thinking. I don't know what's up with that. I do that in work meetings too. But I have 8 attack EVs, maximum SPDF with a Jolly Nature. So with this set, and when we have Crunch, Protect, Dragon Dance, and Stone Edge. And what this set is supposed to do is that it can outspeed Timid Mewtwo at +1 if I get the Dragon Dance off. And then once I do get that Dragon Dance off, I can OHKO a max HP 4 defense Mewtwo with a Crunch. This Rock Blast calc is out of date. I have to consider that, whether I want Rock Blast or... I think I'll probably switch back Stone Edge to Rock Blast. Just in case I need to get the O. Well, no, I don't really need that. Do I? Excuse me. I think... Well, TBD, we'll see which one I can stick with. Rock Blast is better for Galvantula, given that it can break through a Sash. But I'll likely have Rocks up, and I'll have Sand up, so... How much do I need to have the Sash? Not quite sure. Crunch, again, does a lot of damage to just everything. It chunks Mamo, and I can... then the one that I'm wondering about is if I really need to have Stone Edge over Rock Blast. Stone Edge does more to Vaporeon, assuming it hits. But I have lots of other ways to deal with Vaporeon. As for defensive calculation, as for defensive calcs, what is wrong with my brain today, dude? This is interesting. I can live an Aura Sphere from Mewtwo, but I can't live a Focus Blast. So that's why I have Protect, to scout to see which one he would go for. And then from there, I'm able to live the Aura Sphere, get a Dragon Dance up, and then start going ham on the rest of the team like I did last week. But if I also need to switch in T-Tar some other time, against Mamo or something like that, I can live an Earthquake, assuming it's not banded, which I really don't think it will be this week. Next we have Excadrill, and this is a non-traditional Excadrill in a way that it has boots on it. And it's pretty much min speed. So the boots are there in case Galvantula is able to get up the Sticky Web. I can still outrun things and get the Rapid Spin off to neutralize that. So between Rapid Spin, Iron Head, and Earthquake, I can pretty much do a lot of damage, assuming I get the Sword Stance off. And assuming that Sand is up, because when Sand's up, I don't need any speed EVs at all to outspeed the rest of the team. And having all these HP EVs instead of speed is pretty useful in the fact that it lets me live a Choice Band Max Attack Urshifu Sucker Punch, which is not something that at least I don't think it is. It's not something that I think a 0 HP or 4 HP Excadrill could do. So that is a nice thing to have on hand. And you can see that once I get the boost off, all these other damage calcs just start going and start showing up and start showing OHKOs. Mewtwo, I have a 75 chance to OHKO with Earthquake. Weezing, assuming it's levitating, and I use Iron Head instead, I got a guaranteed OHKO. And against Urshifu, I have a 40% chance to OHKO, which is pretty nice. So All good stuff here. And last but not least, we have Slowking running Assault Vest again this week with 252 HP, 4 defense, and 252 special defense. With Scald, Seismic Toss, Whirlpool, and Foul Play. I really liked having Whirlpool last week. It was nice to have Slowking have a trapping move, so given the fact that I can't teleport out to safety, I could Whirlpool kind of do that where I know they have to stay in, so I don't have to get double switched on and get my day ruined. So some calcs here. Again, these are out of date. I don't have Flamethrower anymore, but I have Seismic Toss, which just does good, solid 100 damage every time you use it. It's good against Celesteela, good against Vaporeon. And then I also have Foul Play here for Mewtwo, given the fact that Mewtwo has a pretty high physical attack stat, even though it never uses it. It still does a good chunk of damage, a guaranteed 3-hit KO, and that's even if Mewtwo runs a minus attack minimum investment nature with like no EVs or whatever, or no IVs rather. It still does 3-hit KO. And then for my defensive calcs, which are pretty nice here, a max special attack Psy Strike, which hits physical defense, is a guaranteed 3-hit KO. I can live with Thunder, again a 3-hit KO. The most damage anything on this team can do to me, besides Urshifu, is a Life Orb Mamoswine knockoff, but I don't think it'll have Life Orb, and if it doesn't, then I live. And then Urshifu comes here and shits on Slowking. Sucker Punch does a ridiculous amount of damage. Close Combat even does a lot of damage, and Wicked Blow, don't even bother. It's a KO. And I put this here, not an Urshifu check, to remind me not to try to make it one. And last but not least, I just have a slide of things I need to remember. Urshifu's only answer is Clef on this team. Ho-Oh is a check, but Clef is an answer. A little fun thing is if his Galarian Weezing shows up, or their Galarian Weezing shows up and runs Neutralizing Gas, it will turn off Regenerator since that activates on switch out as opposed to switch in. A key part of my game plan is figuring out if Mewtwo has Aura Sphere or Focus Blast, and then also finding out if it's Timid or Modest, which allows me to figure out what I need to do to beat it. Another thing to keep in mind is that, like I said earlier, with Magnezone and Celesteela, assuming I have that matchup head on with each other, which I imagine will happen, I need a Volt Switch first. That way, I can check to see if it has fire moves or Earthquake, and that's only assuming I can't get the one-hit KO, which I think I do from like 70%. So, if it's more than 70, Volt Switch. If it's less than 70, Thunderbolt. But Volt Switch might also be a good idea. If I don't see leftovers, it could be Shed Shell. That's definitely an option to run this week for them to not get trapped. So probably Volt Switch. Number 5 for me to remember. Ho-Oh deals a lot of damage to this team. I just need to keep it alive. That means switching it out after a Brave Bird when I might not otherwise to get the Regenerator boost. That means getting rocks off the field. That really means getting rocks off the field. Ho-Oh without boots takes so much damage, man. It's not even funny. And then last, just a little thing for me to remember is that even if it seems hopeless, like I'm sure it did against that first game they played, where it went to turn 68 with the Vaporeon at the end game, I can stall Vaporeon. Even if it gets Toxics on my Mons, I can switch back and forth between Ho-Oh and Slowking and not use up any PP and stall it out, assuming I can get some kind of damage on it. I really could PP stall it, but that would be just not fun for anyone. And I can also stall it out with Clefable, since I have Magic Guard. I won't take poison damage. It can't do much with Scald. It'll eventually run out of Scalds before I run out of my moves. So that's the team builder for this week. We're playing sometime this weekend. I don't know when, so this won't be up for a while. And movesets are likely to change before then. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully the sound was better in this one. I'm trying to figure out my mic setup. I got some good feedback from community. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Hopefully in the game. Alrighty, take it easy.